Oh, hey, it's been a while. It's time for a new devlog, so let's get into it. We've got a new star system over here called Greoxia because I have named, at the moment, named the aliens the Greebox. It's not a great name. I'm hoping it's placeholder until I find a better name. But yeah, I've made the star system a bit more dynamic. All the planets are moving. I've got where the particles come out of here and get attracted towards this binary kind of black hole star here at the center of Greoxia. Yeah. So let's see. We've emerged on the other side of a portal, which is kind of a spoiler to how we got here, but yeah. That led us to an unknown system controlled by the Greebox. So yeah, you need all three players. There's no dialogue. It's all a bit placeholder because I've been working on just getting it to this point. Found that rockets definitely overpowered. Don't know how I'm going to handle that going forward, but anyway, maybe we just need to make everything else more powerful. Who knows? I've made rockets a little more expensive just because they are overpowered for now. I've also added a sell button, which does sell the full value of the current tank plus upgrades, so kind of makes it a bit more. If you decide that you've placed the tanks in the wrong spot or you want a different selection of tanks, you can do that. This is a debug version of this level, which only has these three ships flying around following the orbit of this planet. Because once we defeat these ships, there's another ship that pops up that now has its own things and is following you. So that makes things a little more different. Did have fun making this sort of like not orbit, but like this mirrored version of the ship itself, sort of folding in on itself. It's very basic. I went through so many designs. I wanted to keep it as geometric-y as possible. I had a snowflake version at one point. But yeah, this is probably a case where having rockets that are on the other side doesn't make sense. So if we sell that and buy some rockets on this side, now we can kind of do more flybys around the outside. Once we defeat all the bits, we could keep shooting at it, but like for demonstration purposes, a portal should appear. Ooh, it appeared very far away. Oh, I forgot the portal was actually moving. I did tie it to the location. Anyway, so there's this portal over here now. That gives us time to sort of show off how we can look through the portal. So this also took a decent chunk of time. Like, I've done this before in my much older game called Space Doggo. But this definitely took a chunk of time to get going. Also took a little bit of time. We've got this ship here. I want to be able to navigate around. So it has the alien ship actually does use a nav mesh, so it can navigate around the systems without just bumping directly into planets, although it does still do a bit of that. So let's see it go through. Should hopefully be a pretty seamless transition. Yep. You can shoot things through here. Maybe I'll sell these just to, whoops, make the effect a bit clearer. I'll just use a plain old bolt. So you can see that we can shoot through to the other side. I don't think that's necessarily going to be all that useful to be able to shoot through to the other side, but I thought if a player's chasing the alien ship through, they're probably going to want to do that. So once this part of the next level doesn't actually start until the player is safely through the portal. I still need to probably tweak some of this path, but now there are some alien ships that are all following this path throughout this star system, and you need to chase them down to defeat them while sort of maybe avoiding this ship. I need to make it a bit more imposing. The moment's a little bit not imposing, but that's okay. So if we back up, and the alien ship is also supposed to have much more health. But if we kind of just overpower it at the moment, again, rockets are OP. Rockets are pretty great. Let's see what happens when we defeat the alien ship. I also have it where the color of the ship is changing as it takes damage, just to give another indication, because this health bar at the top here is, again, pretty debuggy. This ship is also spawning extra little guys to follow you around. because I thought I want to have it that you can't just hide in one corner. There'll be more things following you. This is also a good time to show off that there is a level boundary, so you can't just fly off in any direction. I'll show what this looks like in Unity, because this is actually a full circle that goes around each level of each star system, but it's broken up into segments and only exists close to where the player is, which is, fun. But I wanted to keep it efficient, but also nice and smooth, so this took a little bit of finagling to get it working good. Yeah, I know, I can hear you all down here making a whole bunch of noise. I've got it where it only spawns up to a certain maximum limit depending on where you are in the total level. So let's just deal with those. And let's hope that the alien ship explosion still works good. The sound effects could probably do with a bit of extra work. But I wanted to make it a bit dramatic. It probably still needs some tweaking. There you go. Good job. Thanks. You won. Yeah, it wasn't that easy. So yeah, it definitely needs some balancing. Obviously, this is kind of just for demonstration purposes. I lowered all the numbers to make it so that I could actually show all of that without spending like a full 10 minutes going through everything. Also, I didn't want to spoil everything that happens. There's not necessarily a whole much more that I want to have happen. I want it to just be a chase where you go from Greoxia back to Greoxia back to Dabin, then to Solab, then to Star Cove, and then maybe to another place, and then back. And like I kind of am thinking it needs to either be a loop or have it where you get back to Greoxia and that's it. Like that's the full chase, and then as you go through, and then it's just you one-on-one with the alien ship. So yeah, that's the majority of what I've been working on, and it's taken me a bit of time just to get everything going. I spent a bit of time trying to get the Android version working again, which I'd kind of neglected for a bit. But yeah, it's been going well. I learnt a bunch about render targets and trying to get that portal working on Android well. Because here, it kind of, it does a performance hit that you might expect. You're rendering the whole scene twice. But on Android, it was cutting the performance down to an eighth or to a sixth of the performance, which is pretty rough. And I was trying to figure out why. And a lot of that just came down to I was picking a bad render target. As it turns out, the pixel format of your render target can make a huge difference on Android. So I learned that. Anyway, let's have a look at Unity. So this is what the game looks like from within Unity. I've got the game off to the side on another screen, so you can't quite see it. But yeah, if I start up one of these levels, say Dabin, you can kind of see how the camera and different things get animated, turned on and off. But I think the more important thing, I'm just going to start this level with Bob. You can see this. Oh, where is Bob? There's Bob. Well, there's the ship. It's fine. Just don't worry about the enemies. You can see if we get closer. If I select, there we go. Select the level boundary. It only exists just along this part here and has a bunch of colliders that the ship can slide along. Yeah, so because I wanted this to be nice and smooth, and I thought it's going to be difficult if I have actually way too many segments, and I want it to basically be that if you're too far away, that it should disappear. Like, even though it's technically kind of on screen, I then also added in a fade so to make sure that even if you have a weird aspect ratio or resolution, it shouldn't matter too much. So yeah, that's how the level boundary works. That wasn't actually that hard to get going as much as I thought it would. But yeah, let's move over and I'll show you the portal. Alright, so I'm at the point where I've got the portal started and it's off screen at the moment. You can see here I've got this yellow line to indicate the nav mesh path. I only update it once every second or something, just because it doesn't need to be too efficient. If we go over here and get the actual portal on screen, you can see now there's a big old, this white, I've got to put the portals moving all the time. Who would do that? There we go, let's slow things down a bit. Oh, that's too close. Okay, let's just pause. We'll pause. So we've actually got this big white rim here, this projection that goes off into space, and a circle here, and that's this portal shadow. So maybe I can bring up the whole analysis frame debugger. Can I bring up the frame debugger? Do I need to not enable? There we go. So what actually happens is, oh, can't actually see this because the game's off screen. I can bring that back on screen. There we go. So what is actually split up into is 3 render passes, which is a little bit heavy probably, but I couldn't think of a better way. I don't know why in the debugger this looks too dark. It doesn't actually look that dark in game. But what happens is I render a mask for where I want the other portal to be viewed through. So yeah, if I guess, and then it gets overlaid into a UI element so that it's completely unaffected by the in-world stuff. So I actually do have 3 cameras set up, one for rendering the portal mask, which is in the same location and is attached to the same camera as this, where the player is, and then another portal that is another camera that's over here that's offset by the same amount looking through. I guess if I disable the frame debugger. So yeah, it's split up into 3 elements. And I've got it where it also had to do some cutouts of the ship itself. So the ship is actually made up of alright, so this is the capture didn't like something. That's alright. So this alien ship is actually made up of 2 halves that are even. That comes a planet. And so it's actually just a torus knot that I've sort of tweaked a little bit with a moving UV on it, and then it's actually a 3D texture to move through the different damage state. I think, which I called emotion at one point. I was going to have some other more fancy emotion at damage. I was going to have a more fancy system at some point, but that's okay. So you can actually tweak the coloring, and that affects the lighting. Oop, got pushed out of the way of a planet. Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, I made this a 3D texture, and then I've got all these gradients for what the lighting color should be. Oh, geez, wow, planet, rude. Anyway, so now I've got it where it's tied to the damage, just as an alternate health bar, and I'm like, I feel like that makes more sense. I wanted to have this whole system where maybe the alien ship would get more angry as you destroy things, and then less angry as you don't destroy things. And I'm just like, I don't have a good way of conveying that. How do I tie that in narratively? So many things, so it's not worth it. So instead, it actually makes for a pretty good just health indicator as it goes through. Anyway, so yeah, just wanted to show that off. Yeah, it's a torus knot. Again, just made in Blender. And then the other thing is, yeah, it's not going to work very well. But in theory, there is a way to indicate that you want to have it that if you're viewing the portal from the other side as the ship is coming through, I want it to be cut out in both directions. So the alien ship does get cut out on both sides as it goes through the portal, but only when it's, yeah, going through the portal. I suppose one thing which I didn't show off, and maybe I'll just show this off in code. Hold on. So here in the portal manager, it actually handles the way that we render things on both sides that can move through the portal. I actually just keep and use both. I just use the one object. I know in some systems you end up creating like a proxy object that just lines up with the original object, but I wanted to have it where, because I kind of got this complicated setup with the engines firing and like particles effects going off as you're shooting from the ship and all this sort of stuff, I've actually got it where for the ships that move through the portal, I actually just move them. So when the regular camera is rendering, nothing happens, but when the portal camera is rendering, on begin camera render, I actually just, and make sure if they're both on screen, if the portals are on screen, I actually just move the portal, the object to where the other portal should be. So it's the same object being shifted back and forth rapidly as it's being rendered, which I'm pretty sure doesn't affect the physics, which is fine. I don't need it to. But yeah, it was a wacky effect, but like it works pretty well. Then I don't have to have a whole synchronizing the animations and synchronizing stuff as it moves through a portal, I can literally use the same objects and just render them in 2 different places. So that, I feel like I was pretty happy with how well that worked. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's worked well. Yeah, so hopefully I'll have something up on itch so you can actually have a go at all this. There isn't much dialogue still, there's still a lot of placeholder, just like thanks and good job for indicating the start and end of a level, ... I just wanted to keep it simple for now. I just wanted to get something out there. And it's going to be a little janky. Most of it is really just sort of figuring out the flow of things. It hasn't really been balanced yet. It's just getting it to this point has sort of been a lot of work and making sure that it works across platforms, etc, etc. So, yeah, it's very much a still work in progress. But I think this is the full kind of scope of the game, and now I just need to fill in more dialogue, some alternate like text. One day I need some music in there, more audio design. There's so many things. And maybe a better name than Greoxia. I don't know. If somebody has a better name for an alien, that'd be great. But yeah, I think this is hopefully coming towards the end stretch of what actually needs to go into the game, and then of course there'll still be polish, more bug fixes. I'm actually reasonably happy with most of the visuals. Maybe these UI elements need some improvement, but I think I'm kind of getting there. I'm kind of okay. Eagle Eyes might notice this is still called Sample Scene. I never renamed the scene. And yeah, this is the one scene. This hasn't changed. The whole everything is just one scene, and I just move everything between it. Who knows if that was a good idea, but it does mean I don't need to instantiate a level. Everything just already exists. Once the game's loaded, most objects are already created. One thing that I noticed was spawning all the damage indicators for when something gets hit was eating up a little chunk of time, so I just pre-allocate like a few hundred of those on startup, which might not be the best idea, but yeah. The nav mesh exists already. Can I just turn that on? Yeah. Let's show nav mesh. Yeah, so I've got it. This is just a further indication of what's going on. The nav mesh is all cut out ahead of time for where all the planets should be, except for these things that are moving, which if I go back here, I probably need to double check some of this nav mesh stuff. Some of these small elements might not be carving when they should, so that's a little bit more work to be done. Carving is in theory expensive, so I probably shouldn't be doing it, but like I don't know how else to get it to work well, and this is the complicated scene for where the alien ship is moving throughout. Yeah. Anyway, still going to do more work. I might want to make the final explosion even bigger from the alien ship. Not at all. It's slightly inspired by Tears of the Kingdom. Spoilers if you haven't played Tears of the Kingdom. It's got a good final boss death. Yeah. So, anyway. I say hopefully soon in the next one, but you never know. But it is getting there. It's looking like a game at this point. I mean, I guess it's looked like a game for a while. But anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.